What does it take to be remembered as history's most evil queen? Power alone isn't enough. Many queens ruled through wars, conspiracies, and political intrigue. Some were feared. Some were hated. And some earned reputations so dark that centuries later, their names still evoke images of cruelty, betrayal, and bloodshed. But history is complicated. Not every queen on this list was objectively evil. Some may have been victims of propaganda. Others genuinely left trails of suffering behind them. Yet each became infamous in her own era for actions that shocked the world around her. Today, we'll travel across thousands of years of history to examine the queens whose names became synonymous with fear. From ancient empires to the modern age, these are the most evil queens from each era. The ancient world. Queen Parasitus of Persia. Long before medieval castles and European monarchies, the Persian Empire dominated much of the known world. At the center of one of its darkest courts stood Queen Parasitus. Parasitus was the wife of King Darius II and one of the most powerful women in the empire. Unlike many royal wives who remained in the background, she actively manipulated politics and exercised enormous influence over the throne. Ancient historians describe her as intelligent, calculating, and utterly ruthless. She was notorious for eliminating rivals. When her daughter-in-law State Ira became popular among the Persian people, tensions grew between the two women. According to historical accounts, Parasitus saw State Ira as a threat to her influence over the king. The solution? Poison. One ancient story claims Parasitus had a bird cut in half with a poison knife, ensuring only one side contained deadly toxins. She then served the poison portion to State Ira during a meal. State Ira died in agony. Whether every detail is true remains debated, but ancient sources consistently portray Parasitus as a master manipulator willing to use murder to maintain power. In a world already filled with political violence, she managed to stand out. And that says a lot. The Roman era. Empress Agrippina the Younger. Few women in Roman history were feared more than Agrippina. She was the sister of an emperor, the wife of an emperor, and the mother of an emperor. But she didn't achieve those positions through luck. Agrippina was ambitious from the beginning. After marrying Emperor Claudius, she worked tirelessly to ensure her son Nero would inherit the throne instead of Claudius's biological son. Ancient historians accused her of poisoning Claudius to speed up the process. Whether she actually committed the murder remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. Nero became emperor. For a time, Agrippina effectively ruled alongside him. Coins featured her image. Officials sought her approval. Some believed she held more power than Nero himself. But eventually, the relationship deteriorated. Nero wanted independence. Agrippina refused to surrender influence. The conflict became so intense that Nero allegedly attempted multiple times to kill his own mother. According to Roman accounts, one plot involved a specially designed boat meant to collapse and drown her. When that failed, soldiers were sent to finish the job. Agrippina's life ended violently, but her reputation survived. To many Romans, she represented limitless ambition and the dangerous pursuit of power at any cost. The early medieval era. Queen Fredegund. The Merovingian kingdom of the Franks was notorious for violence. Yet even by its standards, Queen Fredegund was exceptional. Originally a servant, Fredegund rose through the royal court until she became queen. But climbing to the top wasn't enough. She intended to stay there. Historical chronicles accuse her of arranging numerous assassinations. Rivals disappeared. Political enemies died mysteriously. Members of competing royal families suffered sudden and suspicious deaths. Her greatest rivalry was with another queen named Brunhilde. The conflict between these two women became one of the bloodiest feuds in early medieval Europe. For decades, murders, betrayals, and wars erupted between their factions. Entire regions suffered because of their struggle. Fredegund gained a reputation as a woman who would stop at nothing to protect her position. Whether every accusation was true or exaggerated by hostile chroniclers, her name became synonymous with ruthless political survival. In an age already known for brutality, she stood among its most feared figures. The High Middle Ages. Queen Isabella of France. History remembers Isabella by a chilling nickname, the She-Wolf of France. At first glance, Isabella seemed destined for a conventional royal life. She married King Edward II of England and became queen. But the marriage quickly deteriorated. Edward favoured powerful companions and advisors, creating tension within the kingdom and his own household. Eventually, Isabella took matters into her own hands. She formed alliances against her husband. She invaded England. And she helped overthrow the king. Edward II was imprisoned and later died under mysterious circumstances. Although historians still debate exactly what happened, many contemporaries believed Isabella shared responsibility. For several years, she effectively ruled England through her young son, Edward III. Her enemies portrayed her as a manipulative and dangerous woman driven by personal ambition. Supporters argued she had rescued the kingdom from disastrous leadership. Regardless of perspective, Isabella shattered expectations of medieval queenship. And in doing so, she earned both admiration and fear. The Renaissance.
Catherine de' Medici.
No queen from Renaissance Europe inspired more suspicion than Catherine de' Medici. Born into the powerful Medici family, she became Queen of France during one of the country's most turbulent periods. France was divided by religious conflict. Catholics and Protestants viewed each other as existential threats. Violence erupted repeatedly. Caught in the middle was Catherine. As Queen Mother and political strategist, she wielded enormous influence over the French monarchy. Her reputation became forever linked to one horrifying event, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. In 1572, thousands of Protestants were killed in Paris and throughout France. Many historians believe Catherine played a role in the decisions that led to the bloodshed. Others argue her responsibility has been exaggerated. What cannot be denied is that her name became associated with one of Europe's most infamous massacres. For centuries, writers depicted her as a poisoner, conspirator, and mastermind of political murder. Some stories were likely exaggerated. Yet her image as a dark queen survived long after her death. The early modern world. Queen Ranavalona I of Madagascar. If one queen on this list genuinely terrified both her subjects and foreign observers, it was Ranavalona I. She ruled Madagascar during the 19th century. Determined to preserve her kingdom's independence, she resisted foreign influence aggressively. Her methods were severe. Extremely severe. Historical estimates suggest that enormous numbers of people died during her reign through executions, forced labor, warfare, and harsh punishments. One notorious practice involved an ordeal known as tangina. Individuals accused of crimes were forced to undergo a deadly test involving poison. Many never survived. Foreign visitors describe her rule as brutal and oppressive. Supporters argue she successfully defended Madagascar from colonial domination. Critics focus on the immense human cost. Whatever judgment one reaches, Ranavalona's reign remains among the most controversial in African history. Her reputation earned her a place in countless lists of history's cruelest rulers. The Victorian Age. Empress Dowager Cixi. Few women exercised more power in 19th century Asia than Cixi. Beginning as a concubine in China's Qing dynasty, she eventually became the empire's dominant political figure. For nearly half a century, she influenced decisions affecting hundreds of millions of people. Her critics accused her of corruption, extravagance, and resistance to modernization. Some blamed her for weakening China during a period of foreign pressure and internal crisis. Others portrayed her as a tyrant who manipulated emperors and eliminated rivals. Yet modern historians offer a more nuanced picture. Many traditional stories about Cixi were written by enemies or foreign observers with their own agendas. Still, her reputation for ruthless political maneuvering remains undeniable. She survived palace intrigues, coups, rebellions, and international conflicts. To do so required remarkable intelligence, and sometimes remarkable ruthlessness. The 20th century. Queen Mary of Romania's rival? No. The queen most feared, Jiang Qing, China's Red Queen. Technically not a queen, but few royal figures of the modern age accumulated a darker reputation than Jiang Qing. Known as the wife of Mao Zedong, she became one of the most influential figures during China's Cultural Revolution. Millions suffered during this period. Intellectuals were persecuted. Historical artifacts were destroyed. Families were torn apart. Political campaigns created widespread fear. Jiang Qing emerged as one of the movement's most visible and controversial leaders. After Mao's death, she was arrested and blamed for many excesses of the Cultural Revolution. Her name became synonymous with political extremism and ideological persecution. While not a queen in the traditional sense, she demonstrated how concentrated power could still create fear and suffering in the modern era. The most infamous of them all, Elizabeth Bathory. No discussion of allegedly evil female rulers is complete without mentioning Elizabeth Bathory. Although technically a countess rather than a queen, her legend became so notorious that she deserves special mention. Living in Hungary during the late 16th and early 17th centuries, Bathory was accused of torturing and murdering large numbers of young women. The stories became increasingly horrifying over time. Some later legends claimed she bathed in blood to preserve her youth. Modern historians continue debating the evidence. Was she truly a monstrous serial killer? Or was she the victim of a politically motivated conspiracy? The answer remains uncertain. What is certain is that her reputation became one of the darkest in European history. Few names inspire as much fascination and horror. History's most feared queens share one common trait: power. Some inherited it. Some seized it. Some protected it with extraordinary determination. And some crossed moral boundaries that shocked even their own societies. Yet history is rarely black and white. Many women labeled evil were judged more harshly than male rulers who committed similar acts. Others genuinely oversaw policies and actions that caused immense suffering. The truth often lies somewhere between legend and reality. But one thing is certain. Their stories continue to captivate us because they reveal what happens when ambition, authority, fear, and human nature collide. Thousands of years have passed. Empires have fallen. Kingdoms have vanished. Yet the names of these queens remain. Not because they were loved, but because they were feared. And history never forgets those who inspire fear. If you enjoyed this journey through history's darkest royal figures, subscribe to Painful Histories for more stories about the brutal realities of the past. Because sometimes, the most fascinating parts of history are also the most disturbing.